Hey everybody, Mike Guglielmi, Sons of a Pitch Soccer Podcast, bringing you episode 163. Nick says 164 on the podcast side. I don't know. YouTube, it was 162 last week. It's 163 this week. Thanks for joining us. We are at 966 subscribers. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we are so close. We're going to hit this tonight, tomorrow night with the LAFC and Tigres live stream reaction watch along for the CONCACAF Champions League final. We'll hit that number. I guarantee it. And if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. When we reach the 1,000, one subscriber will be randomly drawn to win a $250 Visa gift card. So just hit that button. It's that simple. Hey, look, I am down in Florida. I finally made it down to my parents' house in Florida. I'm in my old bedroom, set up all my equipment, ready to talk some soccer. And we'll have to do that drawing either a week from now or 2 weeks from now, depending on when we all get back into our, with all this traveling and Christmas breaks and all that good stuff. But we've got lots of soccer to talk about. Nick, how you doing, man?
Mike, I'm ready to celebrate the holidays and the impending MLS CONCACAF Champions League trophy. That's what I am ready to celebrate. I had picked LAFC. They have defeated Club America. We're going to talk about that in just a second. They are going to face Tigres. We're going to preview tomorrow's game in a little bit. We're going to talk a little coaching tonight too. Vanny, Vieira, Herrera, El Piojo in the MLS. We'll see here. We're going to talk about all that. Talk about some other MLS headlines, players on the move, clubs making moves. So stay tuned for all of that. But if you want to join our conversation, whether here on YouTube at Sons of a Pitch Soccer, on Twitter at SOPSoccer, or on Facebook at Sons of a Pitch, please reach out and do so. You can also email us, podcast@sonsofapitchsoccer.com. We actually got an email from one of our regular supporters about Herrera coaching in the MLS, and we're going to get to that later during the show. So please reach out to us on social media. We're also on Instagram, as well as if you want to support the show, if you want to give a little donation, help us to grow. If you want to give us a little tip, if we keep you entertained, there's a lot going on in the world. You've probably burned through all your Netflix and Hulu streaming shows, and if you're loving what we're doing here, or if you're not loving what we're doing here, if you hate us, send us $1. And that's it. If you love us, $5-10 will go a long way. We appreciate it. We're on CashApp, Patreon, and you can buy our swag on Redbubble and continue to support the show. Additionally, if you want to send a shout out or put your business on our podcast or YouTube channel as a sponsorship, we do have those available, and we can tailor those to your needs as well. So reach out to us either on Twitter or email us, podcast@sonsofapitchsoccer.com, and we will work that out with you. Now, for the good stuff, for the conversation, for the soccer, for the Champions League, one of the greatest comebacks considering how the first half was. Oh. Am I overselling this, Mike? Am I overselling it already? LAFC defeats Club America 3-1 in the CONCACAF Champions League semifinals to advance to the final to be the first MLS team to win the cup. At least that's my pick. And yes, Jay Jardim, I'm loving that LAFC pick. Full disclosure, though, I watched the first half, and it was such absolute trash. I turned it off after I saw Razov throw a punch at Herrera and then went to bed because I'm like, I should probably get the extra hour of sleep tonight. But, man, to wake up and see the score and watch the highlights, it got all sorts of CONCACAF MLS juices flowing, Mike. Like, what was your initial reaction to seeing that scoreline?
So, listen, I was in Atlanta, and I am a Florida Gators football fan. So I was in Atlanta for the day, and I'm like, you know what? It's time to go to the SEC championship game against Alabama. So I took myself down to Mercedes-Benz Stadium and watched that game. Unfortunately, the Gators, they hung in for a while, but they couldn't get it done. So I couldn't watch the game live, but I did watch it the next morning, and I'm watching it. You know, I skipped through to like halftime, and it's 1-0 for Club America. And I'm thinking, okay, you know, whatever. Then I see red card to LAFC, and I'm like, oh boy, that's not good. Then within a minute, as Soccer 09 points out, Carlos Vela scores 2 goals in 1 minute, just about a minute there in the second half.
To open the second half.
Just
not in the second half, the opening minute.
In the opening minute, down a man, scores 2 goals. I mean, that was just picture perfect from Carlos Vela. That is why the MLS has DP spots, right? And there you go. I mean, Carlos Vela, 2 goals, 1 minute. How can you not love it, man? I mean, totally turns the game on its head. And then there you go. It's done and dusted from that point on. They get the 3rd in stoppage time, and LAFC making you look good, man.
Absolutely. They've done me a great service here, especially since I'm not usually a fan of teams from Cali. Now, Mike, at the end of the day, the winning team is all that matters.
Right.
Had Club America gone on to win it, would you maybe not be as critical of their style of play, or would you still call it trash?
Oh, I'd call it trash. I mean, with that, you don't park the bus. I mean, like that. I mean, it is what it is. That's the style of play. The result at that point, it doesn't really matter. The right result happened. And by the way they were playing, they got it. So a great showing by LAFC. I mean, you're down. Your back is against the wall, and you pull that out. That's huge. And Ramon Poblano, the black and gold fan here, LAFC, first MLS club to beat 3 Liga MX teams in one tournament.
Yeah.
It is, to beat Leon in the first round, and then to take on Cruz Azul, beat them, and now Club America, and they're going to have to go through the 4th with Tigres here in the final. And again, in that final, we are going to be live. I will be live here from my house in Florida, my parents' house in Florida. Check it out, Tigres and LAFC live stream reaction tomorrow night, 10 Eastern, 9 Central. We'll be bringing it to you. We may have a special guest because my friend Nick is going to be traveling. You know, this Christmas season and traveling. I'm traveling down to Florida for 4 days. He's going somewhere. And, so we might have a special guest. My wife is really excited. She's going to hang out here, and we're going to do LAFC and Tigres in the Champions League final and get over that 1,000 subscriber hump and make it happen. But it's going to be
Usually you go out to watch a game, it's a 2-drink minimum. I think you need to tell Allison it's a 2-drink maximum for her, because it might get the game. Her commentary might get as sloppy as the play on the pitch. Then if LAFC tries to get CONCACAF again.
Hey, I just got to say, I mean, she was live on our channel with Club America and Cruz Azul back. That was our #1 as far as views goes on YouTube for a very long time, for almost 8 months, until we had the Seattle, Minnesota Western Conference Finals. So she's doing something right. It's got to be because she's beautiful.
Can't argue with results.
Exactly.
Can't argue with results.
Exactly. But we're going to have some fun. One of us is going to pick the champion. Yeah. Either, and here's the thing, not only just with us, but this boils down even bigger, right? You've got Tigres. This could be their first CONCACAF Champions League victory, which is astonishing for that club and the amount of money they spend and the pedigree that they have. Or if they don't win, LAFC has to win. And there's your first MLS team to ever win the CONCACAF Champions League. Now, the question I have for you, Nick, is, especially for picking LAFC, does this get diminished at all because they had to play only one leg in a neutral field in the U.S. with no fans for 3 of those legs? Does it get diminished at all, or is it the same as Toronto FC in 2018, Montreal in 2015, when they had to go to Azteca, when they had to go to El Volcan? What do you think?
No, I don't think it's diminished at all. Is it different? Sure. Should we put asterisks by it or talk down about it? No. It's just different. It's apples to oranges, Mike. the fact of the matter remains, both of these teams had to travel to a neutral site, play the game, and win the game. And it's a one-game playoff, right? We saw it in the MLS. This is part of the reason they went to one-game playoffs, because the whole home and home thing, it just was a waste. It favored whoever had the home game first, because they got to sit back and park the bus. It was terrible for fans, terrible for viewers. It was a horrible product on the field, and it really wasn't a true kind of meeting of both of these teams. So both teams are playing in the same scenario. Really, what's different here, Mike, is that the MLS clubs are more in form. LAFC is more in form, having maybe a month off since the end of the season. Not even, because of the playoffs, right? Typically, the MLS clubs are in their preseason, while these Liga MX clubs are smack dab in the middle of their season. They are in mid-season form, and now they're catching these MLS teams who are raring to go, who are energized, who are ready to play and in shape. You didn't see any letdown in the final 10, 15 minutes of these games that usually an MLS team has when playing a Liga MX opponent in CONCACAF Champions League. So it's definitely not diminished. You got a completely different set of circumstances. And honestly, Mike, look at it. Even though they didn't advance, Montreal won their last game, Atlanta won their last game, and then obviously LAFC goes on and is winning and advancing in these one-game situations for them. So to me, not diminished at all. Of course, Liga MX is going to say, oh, this and that. Of course, you've got Miguel Herrera before the game going, we're Club America, we've got the history, we've got all this stuff. But apparently that doesn't translate on the field. Go figure, right? And not to mention the fact that his antics took away from the game, took away from his players. Like, he made an imbecile of himself. He's called El Piojo, which stands for louse, because he gets under your skin. He's like lice. But he didn't have anything special in that game, and the talent did not carry Club America over LAFC. The other thing, you got Carlos Vela, man. Carlos Vela, who has a bone to pick with all things Mexican soccer, apparently. Yeah. Sits out some of the World Cup qualifying, or doesn't get called up because he goes to the MLS. Well, guess what? That season, he won the Golden Boot in MLS, and then now he's knocked off 3 Liga MX teams in this CONCACAF Champions League. So you cannot underestimate Carlos Vela, motivated for a trophy and to kind of stick it to a little bit of Mexican soccer there. So for me, Mike, the absolute deserved result based on play on the field, based on tactics, based on antics and theatrics, all the ridiculousness that Ochoa and Herrera and the rest of Club America, everything that we've come to be used to, this was just the worst display of all of it. And thank goodness LAFC moved on from that, Mike. So I do want to get some of your final thoughts before I read kind of like the statement talking about the aftermath of this game, and then kind of get your take on that.
Yeah, so for me, it does diminish it a little bit, and that's because it's exactly the same as the CONCACAF Champions Cup back in the '90s, which MLS teams won. So yeah, you can't. That's where the main difference is for me. And not to take anything away from LAFC, if they pull this off and go through Club Leon over 2 legs, and having to go to Mexico, and then taking on Cruz Azul, taking on Club America, Tigres, that is a hell of a feat. I don't want to take anything away from that, but the fact that this entire tournament now at this point is being played in the USA, they didn't have to go to Azteca and play a second leg against America after that game. They don't have to go to El Volcan and play against Tigres in a Champions League final with 40,000 rabid fans throwing batteries and beers at them, right? So that kind of takes a step back for me. Yes, it would be the first MLS team, and we'll take it, right? I mean, obviously, we'll take it if that's the result. However, to me, it's not quite the same as if they had to run the gauntlet and go down like a Montreal did in 2015, like a Real Salt Lake did in 2011, like Toronto FC in 2018. These teams put in results in Azteca, in Volcan. And that's what LAFC isn't going to do. So it does kind of put a little asterisk next to it. But again, who gives a shit? It's MLS winning the CONCACAF Champions League, regardless. So I'm good with it if it happens. Obviously, my pick is Tigres. I think they'll get it done. I had them playing Cruz Azul, but you picked it perfectly, and maybe it'll go through. We'll see.
Sure.
But anyways, move on to the coaching moves there with Piojo.
Sure. I will say, though, Mike, to add a counterpoint to what you're talking about here, yeah, the MLS teams didn't have to travel to Mexico, but the Liga MX teams didn't have to go into Banc of California Stadium. They didn't have to go to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. They didn't have to go 2 countries up and play in Montreal. Like, you had
right
there. It goes both ways as far as, home field advantage. I would say that it's definitely not the same environment, but there's a little bit there. Now, a couple parts of the aftermath of this, for those of you who didn't get to watch the highlights, more like the lowlights, Atuesta did get a red card, which was completely the wrong call. He gets kneed in the side, goes down. Ochoa comes and stands over him, the Club America goalkeeper, getting in his face, talking trash to him. So when Atuesta jumps up, he kind of glances Ochoa's flowing hair, and then Ochoa grabs his face like he just got skull-butted by like the Predator in some sci-fi death match, and goes down. The defenders rush over to the side to the AR, and Atuesta is given a red card and ejected. All hell breaks loose because it was like a minute before halftime. The referee doesn't even give stoppage time for the first half. He just sends the teams to the locker room, but the teams don't go to the locker room. There's a huge scuffle. Players are yelling at Bob Bradley. Bradley is yelling back at Club America staff, whatever. Herrera, El Piojo, grabs Ante Razov, LAFC assistant coach, by the back of the head and shakes him. And then Razov punches him in the face. And, he's lucky that there were a lot of assistant coaches around him because Razov just got a little jab in. If Razov really got to connect, that could have been a literal knockout blow because you're not going to mess with Ante Razov, on the field like that, especially against a team from Mexico, knowing the history that this guy has with the U.S. and with MLS. So all that being said and done, CONCACAF comes out and releases their statement, right? Oh, by the way, Piojo, even though he was ejected, went and sat in the stands. And then when he sat too close to the team, moved up a few stands and got a walkie-talkie and was just radioing stuff in. So, again, total circus here. Here's the aftermath from CONCACAF, and I think we're all going to have another laugh once we actually see the official statement here. The committee has sanctioned former Club America head coach. Yep, he got canned today. Miguel Herrera and LAFC assistant coach Ante Razov 4-match suspension. Plus, Herrera gets a 5th match suspension because he continued to communicate with the team after being ejected. Now, this goes into effect for all CONCACAF club competitions immediately. So there's that. Boom. Now, what about Atuesta's red card? They come out and they say the CONCACAF Champions League regulations say the referees' decisions are final, which is in line with FIFA and the competitions they have had in place. Okay, I don't think that's true because FIFA overturns shit all the time. And you can appeal stuff all the time. Now, maybe not in Champions League or other stuff, but it doesn't sound right. So because they don't want to change things up, especially at the end stage of a tournament, they want to uphold the integrity. That cracks me up. They want to uphold the integrity of the Confederation here and the integrity of this tournament. They're not going to overturn Atuesta's red card. And Bob Bradley even said in the postgame, I really doubt this is going to happen. And nobody knows CONCACAF better than Bob Bradley, right? Right. So there you have it, Mike. You've got those 2 suspensions for the coaches, and you've got Atuesta's red card upheld. Also, they go on to say, we don't have VAR until 2021. That's when the Confederation decided to put it in. So, sorry, we're not going to look back at anything. And I'm like, all right, fine. You decided to put VAR in next season. Stick with it and roll with it. But the fact that you're not going to come in afterwards and realize that what Ochoa did and what Atuesta didn't do, to me, that just shows that nothing's ever going to change, and they're going to let these teams gut it out like this because for some reason or other. I don't understand it, Mike. I don't understand what's up with CONCACAF here. What are your thoughts on all the aftermath of this?
What a shit show. I mean, just completely ridiculous. But it's CONCACAF. I mean, what do you expect? There's a term, CONCACAF. right? I mean, that's how it goes. CONCACAF is I think it was Isaiah, made a comment about the CONCACAF refs. Yes, they're crap. It's unbelievable the amount of just garbage that is out on the field. I mean, there was no reason for Atuesta to get a red card there. They're just trying to stick behind their ref to try and make it seem like it'll give it some credibility in this situation. That's huge. It really hurts LAFC in this matchup in the midfield against a very strong Tigre side.
Right.
So, it's just CONCACAF, man. Overall, I mean, what really blew me off the field, and I'm not even on the field, was the fact that Herrera, I mean, obviously you can tell the guy was playing for his job. Like, management came to him and said, you lose, you don't win Champions League, you're fired.
Yeah.
The guy gets a red card, goes up into the stands, and he's sitting there with a walkie-talkie. Like, are you kidding me right now?
There's some good memes about it.
Where the hell, dude? I would have had the Orlando PD come up and grab that guy and get him the hell out of the stadium. Like, that is a joke. A joke. And that's CONCACAF, man. I mean, I saw a couple of CONCACAF representatives with their CONCACAF masks on. Come on, you got to go. Let's go. Come on, get out of here. Like, stop it. The guy obviously is breaking the rules. You get him out. You take him out of the stadium, period.
Sure. The only thing going for them is that LAFC won the game. If LAFC lost, there would have been so much more from a legalistic perspective of all the cheating and tampering and everything else, the illegality of what he was doing as a coach, of what was going on the field. Like, if LAFC had lost this, let's just say CONCACAF is lucky that the better team and the team who wasn't engaging in such theatrics and antics won the game.
Right. No, totally. And Club America, I mean, they've been known for that for a long time, and so is Herrera. I mean, he's a scumbag, period. And I don't know if it's a good segue into our next piece here of him coming to MLS. Hell no. Do not let that happen. I don't see it happening, but if he ends up coaching in MLS, that team, nope.
Right. So, yeah, speaking of, there's been a lot of rumor now that he's out of a job with Club America, like, should an MLS team pick him up? And there was an article on ESPN.com that said, this guy's going to get a job in no time. Like, he's not going to be unemployed for long. Look at his track record. And I'm like, okay, let's just do that. Let's look at Miguel Herrera's track record as a head coach. He has never been a manager of a team for more than maybe three seasons or so, 3 years-ish. He's been with America since 2017. Before that, 3 seasons with Tijuana, 3 seasons as the Mexican national team head coach. Then 3 seasons with Club America, 2 seasons with Atlanta in Mexico, 3 seasons with Tecos, Mexico again, a year with Veracruz, a few years with Monterrey, a few years with Atlanta. So, like, this guy's never been with a job more than 3 years. You know what? And Greg Chaffin jumps in on Facebook, says he can go to FC Cincinnati. I love it. I don't think the Cincinnati fans would have any of it, but that would be hilarious.
That's the last person they need in Cincinnati, but that's a great joke, Greg.
Yeah, right? So, look, we got to take into account the fact that in Liga MX, coaches don't get very long. Like we see a Vanny or Ben Olsen or, some other coaches in American professional sports. They don't get the 5 to 10 or plus years like you see some of these college coaches who just kind of keep winning 8-9 football games every year and they're secure. They want results. And, the way that they flamed out of the playoffs, he was already on the hot seat. So I get that. That's kind of the counterpoint to it. But the fact is this guy can't hold down a job and have any sustained success. So why would you as an MLS club, and let's look at the MLS clubs who need coaches, right? Atlanta, LA, Cincinnati. Did the Red Bulls finalize their head coach, or are they still on an interim?
No, they got Stuber.
They did get Stuber. Okay, who else is out there, Mike? I mean, Seattle, unless Smetcher doesn't come back. So I'm trying to think who else.
Not many jobs open. They're
maybe if Bernice leaves and just becomes a technical director instead of coach. So there's not a lot, and those clubs don't need a personality like him coming in at all, right? Like, what would that mean if you want to sell papers, right? Sell headlines, get clicks. Yeah, bring them in. The MLS is past all of that.
Yeah.
Past all of that. So Mike, we do have a few people in favor of bringing Herrera to the MLS. So let me read you a little bit here, and then you react to the fans' takes here, Mike. You react to what I'm about to tell you. I saw a lot of this on social media that he builds great chemistry in his team. He's a winner. He appeals to a Latin fan base and to Latin players, which is very popular in the MLS right now. Is any of this doing it for you, for Miguel Herrera?
No.
Now here's the other one, Mike. Maybe not as serious as those takes. We got an email from John. John, a Chicago Fire guy here. So John, this one's for you. And for Chicago fans, listen up. Guys, let's start a Bring Piojo chant for the Fire in your podcast. Piojo, I can't even do it. I dislike the guy so much. I can't start it. Sorry, John. But he says, I can't imagine a coach better suited for Chicago. Obviously playing to the Hispanic population, the Latin population here in Chicago. And John has been very vocal about this in the past on our show. But then he goes on to say, and I love this, he would be the Ditka of the Fire, right? The personality, just the bombastic nature of it, getting in the players and referees' faces and all of that. Ditka's a Chicago icon. I just don't see Herrera matching that at all. So, Mike, give us your final take on Herrera to MLS, and is he even worth considering? And then let's move into some other MLS coaching talk.
No, he's not. Period. I mean, maybe Chicago, they get rid of Pretty Boy Wiki, and put up some crazy guy like Piojo just to try and sell some seats. To bring that Ditka personality in, because that is a good point. I mean, he would have that type of personality, but I don't know if that would work in Chicago. I mean, in Chicago, you just need to win games. Is he going to win? He can't even beat LAFC with Club America. I don't know, man. He beat up an Atlanta United side in Azteca without Joseph Martinez. And then
the worst Atlanta United team since they joined MLS.
In a neutral site. He can't beat Toronto FC. No. He's just not worth it. I mean, maybe from a PR standpoint, it'd be good for Chicago because God bless the Fire. They need everything they can get. You miss out in the playoffs. You go and you send off Mihailovic to the Fire, to the Impact for nothing. I mean, a little bit of game.
He got $1 million plus incentives. $1 million for
Mihailovic. He's a USMNT player, for Christ's sakes.
He couldn't.
Why
I don't know what the deal was with him and Wiki. Like, they didn't. I guess they didn't click because he was getting plenty of time under Paunovic, but
he wasn't even getting enough time under Paunovic. I mean, you go back, he wasn't getting enough time. The guy did not get the love from Chicago that he should have gotten. And that's enough about that and about El Piojo. Please just don't let me mention him again.
So, Mike, then let's use that. Let's transition into some of the other coaching stuff around the MLS. There's three big things going on right now. Greg Vanney to LA Galaxy, Patrick Vieira to Toronto, and Gabriel Heinz to Atlanta. So those are all kind of in the works, but very solid kind of rumors here, Mike. You're very familiar with Greg Vanney, and you're very familiar with TFC, and to a lesser extent, Vieira. What do you think about these moves? First of all, do you think they're going to happen? And are these good moves for the teams? And are they good moves for these coaches? Pick whichever coach you want to start with and go for it.
I don't really know much about Heinz in Atlanta. It seems like a bit of a reach to me. I know he's Argentinian. He's got the South American flair, which is what has made Atlanta successful. However, I don't know if that's the right guy. I mean, I got to see it on paper, and I got to see what he does with the squad. I got to see what that team looks like come March, April, whenever things start, to make a real good call on that one, because I don't know enough about him. Now,
Yep.
as far as Greg Vanny,
sorry, just to jump in, he was named the Atlanta coach just over the weekend on the 18th.
Yeah, that one's official, so he's in. Greg Vanny to the LA Galaxy. That one is pretty much a done deal. I mean, we kind of expected that when he didn't re-sign with TFC. He had said he needed a new challenge. The guy's from LA, just outside LA. His whole family is there. He's got, I mean, he played for the Galaxy.
Yeah.
It's the perfect fit for him, right? He's gone to Toronto. He's won everything, won the treble, except for CONCACAF Champions League, which, I mean, at this point, you know, what else does he have to do in Toronto when he's got an opportunity to go home, be the coach for the Galaxy, which, again, is unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, the premier franchise of MLS. It just is, regardless of their results. And yeah, he's got a great chance there. He's going to go there. That's what's going to happen, and he's going to tear it up. He will do well. That team needs structure. That team needs somebody who knows MLS, and Vanny knows that. I read a pretty good article about how Chicharito is pissed now because apparently in the contract he had something in the contract that said, you know, if Guillermo Barros-Schelotto isn't the head coach anymore when he came in, he would have some type of say on who the next head coach would be. And he didn't get that with Greg Vanny because he obviously knows nothing about Greg Vanny, and Vanny knows nothing about him. Well, I'm sorry, Chicharito, when you suck it up for 9 months into your career and you score 2 goals and you play like crap, you don't get to pick who the next coach is. You come in here and you pull a Carlos Vela and you win the Golden Boot and the MVP and you win your team a CCL semifinal single-handedly, maybe then we'll talk. Until then, forget about it. Greg Vanny's going to do a great job for LA Galaxy. I'm pissed. I hate that he's leaving Toronto FC. I mean, I gave the guy a chance, right? I'll never forget that conversation I had with Jeff Blair on Sportsnet 590. I was like, they were talking smack, like, who the hell is this Greg Vanny guy? We go through coaches every 3 days. And I'm like, give the guy a chance. He's got that MLS experience. And look what happened. The best coach in TFC history. And now he's going to the Galaxy to turn things around there. And it's a great challenge. You've got a team who should be winning championships, who should at least be contending for championships. And now they can't even break the playoffs. So there you go. Now he's got a chance to rebuild that, take him to the high spots of championships, Champions Leagues, all that kind of stuff. Good for Greg Vanny, and it's a great fit for the Galaxy. Now, as far as Vieira, from what I'm hearing, he is the leading candidate to take the TFC job. He went over to Europe, didn't work out well at Nice or Nice or however the hell you say it.
Right.
And now he was successful in MLS. Why not come back to a club like Toronto FC where you have the money, you have the players, you've got a good team, you go on, you win another championship, and then you move on to, something in Europe again to kind of get that second chance, because nobody in Europe is going to pick them up right now. You don't go from being a coach in MLS is your first coaching gig to France and Ligue 1, get blasted for a year and a half, and then find another good job in Europe. Patrick Vieira is not going to coach a Serie B side in Italy. He's looking for a big job. And I like it. I did hear some other rumors with Laurent Blanc, who was the head coach for PSG in with TFC. That one, I don't see how that happens. I don't see a PSG-type coach coming to Toronto, but that's just me. I like Patrick Vieira as a coach. I liked what he did in New York. Again, I think it all boils down to Yankee Stadium for them. That's it. New York City would be a better team with better results if he didn't play in Yankee. On coaching.
Hey, Mike, let me jump in here real quick. It sounds like you've got a connection issue on your end of things. Let me just point out real quickly here. You're right. Laurent Blanc was a target for TFC as a coach, but he recently, just again over the weekend, signed with Al Rayyan SC in Qatar. So he is totally off the table there for any of those teams. And yeah, it would be great to see Vieira back.
Real quickly here. You're right. Your block wasn't.
Maybe not great to see Vieira back, but the guy knows the league. He can have success here. He's definitely a guy who, given the right players with TFC, could probably win them a trophy or a Supporter Shield or something. At worst case scenario, Vieira to TFC, give the guy 3 seasons or so, and then kind of bridge the gap if TFC starts rebuilding a little bit. So I'm totally cool with a lot of these moves. I think Heinze, who's excellent in Argentina, pretty good winning record. I didn't win too many trophies down in Argentina, but a very solid coach. Someone with international experience, Argentinian national team experience, a guy who can communicate with the Latin players and hopefully isn't taking a long time to get adapted to the MLS. I think that is one of the greatest challenges that's very underspoken and not talked about a lot in the MLS for coaching, to come from these international or overseas leagues and then adjust to the travel schedule and the travel accommodations, to adjust to the roster rules, the different slots for international, domestic, DP, young DP, all that stuff, homegrowns, etc. To adjust to a salary cap, first of all, to a playoff system, and then also to working with an academy. Like, these coaches in the MLS are expected to help build, at this point in the MLS, are still expected to help build kind of a culture from top to bottom, senior team through academy. Whereas if you're coming from these established clubs around the world who've been playing for 100 years, you don't have to worry about that. You just coach your senior team, and then you get one of your assistants to say, hey, we need to pull a couple guys up from the U squad to fill in for the next couple games. Go get them. So there's a lot of challenges that international coaches have coming to the MLS that isn't talked about a lot. So hopefully Heinze can at least get Atlanta United treading water. Hopefully if Vieira comes into TFC, you don't see a huge drop-off. You don't see them missing the playoffs. And Vanny to LA, hopefully he can get the best out of Chicharito and some of the other strikers over there. As Isaiah Paskins is saying in our chat here, Chicharito wasn't given a fair chance by Schelotto. He says he was never trusted, and Schelotto never gave him a true shot. I was like, okay, maybe he's not getting a lot of playing time. I know he had some injuries, but the fact is, when you pay a guy that much, when you build him up to be the face of the league, the face of your franchise, the guy who's going to get you back to the playoffs and that old LA glory, 2 goals on the season ain't going to cut it. Like, no matter how you slice it, Chicharito was a bust in his first year here in LA. And hey, I thought he would be great. I picked him to be my newcomer of the year, right? Possible Golden Boot MVP type of stuff here. But unfortunately, it didn't work out for him. So that's kind of where I'm going to leave it with the coaching and with kind of the places of the team there, Mike. Anything else you want to say before we get into some other MLS headlines?
Yeah, I just want to touch on that. I mean, all Greg Vanny has to do is walk up to Chicharito and say, Sebastian Giovinco. Okay? I coached Giovinco, and he was the player that he was in MLS.
Yeah.
Same with Chicharito. Look, he obviously doesn't bother him to have star players. I mean, Giovinco, again, remember, this kid came from Juventus. He wasn't playing in the first team at Juventus, but he was the heir apparent to Del Piero, right? So I mean, the guy had a big head, and he came into Toronto and tore it up. So that's all you got to say there to that one. I think he'll be fine. Hey, brother BKL Contreras is on. Hey, Nick and Mike, glad to see you guys. How's your travel in Florida, Mike? Travel is great. We made it down here. I wish my parents' internet was as good as my RV travel. We wouldn't have these connection issues. Tomorrow it's going to have to be on the phone internet, which is going to be a little bit better than my parents' internet. But hey, what can I say? Let's talk a little bit more MLS here. We got about 20 minutes left in this episode, and let's move right along.
Absolutely, Mike. So some other big news: Kyle Beckerman has been a fixture of the MLS pretty much his entire career for the last how many years, right? Like, the guy's 38 years old. He's still doing it at the highest level here in MLS. USMNT caps. He's pretty much done it all. He is hanging up the boots. He has announced his retirement from professional soccer. So let me read you a little bit about Kyle Beckerman, and let's kind of reflect back, and I'll get your thoughts on where you think he ranks as far as all-time MLS. 9-time All-Star, MLS Cup winner 2009 with RSL. I think he played the bulk of his career with RSL, if not the whole of it.
Yeah.
MLSsoccer.com calls him one of the best defensive midfielders in league history. And here's the crazy stuff, Mike. All-time leader in regular season games played, 498. All-time leader in games started, 461. All-time leader minutes played, over 41,000 minutes for field players. Obviously, goalies, I think Ramondo has that one. His teammate, go figure. And I also think he has the most yellow cards in MLS history as well. And he's like top 5 for red cards too, I think. So he was also named one of the 25 greatest players in MLS history on the list that MLS Soccer released earlier this week or earlier this month. All of that said, Mike, where does Kyle Beckerman rank for you as far as an MLS all-time great?
He's up there. He spent his whole career there. He got lots of caps for the U.S. national team. He's in the conversation as one of the MLS's all-time greats. He hasn't really had it since he cut the dreads. I mean, the dreads went away, like Kyle Beckerman went away.
I was going to say, man, his haircuts were also some of the best part about his game.
Yeah, I mean, overall, a good player. In a small market like Salt Lake, it doesn't help him because, he doesn't get the attention that he deserves if he was playing in New York or in LA, in Atlanta, something like that. I mean, that definitely hurts the promo aspect of it for most MLS fans to know how good he actually was. But in his prime, a hell of a player, and yet one of the better D-mids in MLS history. I don't know if I'd go up at the top, but a good one, and I'll leave it at that.
Sure, and you know what, Beckerman did a lot. He gave us a lot. As fans of the game, especially as USMNT fans, he had 58 senior caps. I never really liked his style of play as a USMNT player because he was that defensive midfielder. Whenever he would force a turnover or gain possession, intercept a pass, whatever it was, he would always, I think he tended to play the ball backwards more or laterally than ever looking forward. And in the international game, I was like, dude, come on, we need offense. We need counterattacks. Quick, move the ball. He definitely served a purpose. He did what was needed and what was asked by his coaching staff. But I just wish he could have turned that defense into offense a lot more. And you saw it later on in his career. Maybe he didn't have the legs. He was doing the same thing with RSL. Maybe that's my lack of, or maybe that's my ignorance of watching RSL and Beckerman in great detail. But when I did watch his games, that's something that stood out to me. But you're right, Mike. There's no denying the minutes, the games, the starts, and just the impact on the league that a guy who's been playing in the MLS for 20 years, he came into the league in 2000 playing with the Miami Fusion, and then when they folded, ended up with the MLS Pro 40 loan program, like kind of getting players to stay in the pool, but not necessarily with the long-term team. Played a few years with the Rapids and then has been with RSL since 2007. So, some of these stats, when you see stuff like this, it's like, well, he was just there for a long time. So that's why he got it. But Beckerman, I think, is an iron. He could be the Iron Man of the MLS as far as I'm concerned. Again, style of play, not exactly what I wanted to see out of him, but there's no denying his accomplishments in this league, Mike. And I think that's how I would like to end my talk on Kyle Beckerman, unless you got anything else that you want to add other than his dreadlocks, which, again, one of my favorite haircuts in the league, that's for sure.
Nope, perfect.
All right. Now, there has been a little movement in FC Dallas here. They did acquire center back Jose Antonio Martinez from SD Eibar over in Spain. Interesting, which stands out to me, Mike, you got a guy who's going to step in and be a day one starter for you, just given his pedigree coming over from La Liga. And I think he is, 27 years old. There he is. So kind of in the middle of his career, kind of approaching that prime age. This guy's going to be a starter from day one. They went out and used an international spot. I'm pretty sure it's an international spot on a center back, spending some money, using a prime roster spot on a center back. Does that tell you what FC Dallas's priority is? Do you think they have enough offense with some of their younger players? They made the playoffs this year, Mike. They won a game against Portland. Maybe they're thinking if we just shore up the defense, we can play a lot better and maybe make a run. What do you think this move means for FC Dallas?
Well, it's an odd move. I mean, you don't see that every day when teams are going after center backs with that that type of money and that type of salary level. So that's good to see from Dallas that they're kind of stepping out on a limb there. I don't know much about the guy. I don't know how he's going to fit in an MLS. But for Dallas, yeah, I mean, they've got the young talent. They've got a lot of good attacking talent. I'd like to see a little bit more attacking talent. I think that would probably put them over the top more than the defensive end and the defensive side of things. But I'm not the GM. We'll see how it pans out next season, right? I mean, is this you can't really tell if it's a good move or not until the games start getting played.
Right. And hopefully he doesn't have that MLS lag, right? Coming over internationally, having to deal with the travel, having to deal with the different system and playing with a group of different players, maybe guys who don't predominantly speak Spanish, all that sort of thing. Hopefully that's not the case, because I'd love to see a good Dallas team. I think it would bring much better competition in the Western Conference, especially when you're seeing kind of like an arms race. These teams getting strikers. Dallas brings in a defender. Maybe it's a good counter move, maybe a good chess match move there. So you're right, Mike. Only time will tell how it plays off. But I think worst case scenario, he's going to be okay. And if Dallas is okay with that, then you know what? It's going to elevate the level of their team. So lastly, Mike, let's talk a little bit about Austin FC. We're going to get into the expansion team here. I know Greg Chaffin was joking before, like, oh, we'll send Herrera to Austin FC, coaching a team in Texas, close to Mexico, letting players. It kind of makes sense, right? Well, they already have Josh Wolf as their head coach. He was announced a while back, and I think he's going to do a decent job building a good culture down in Austin there. But they recently signed Hector Jimenez, a 32-year-old free agent, most recently with the Columbus Crew MLS Cup winner, and he did win a couple MLS Cups back with the LA Galaxy. Maybe not as a star player for them, but definitely was on those rosters, so knows what it takes to be on a championship team. So it looks like with this signing, again, they're building kind of an experienced core, trying to set the culture for this club, for this locker room. And then you look at the guys around who they've already signed. Brady Scott, their goalkeeper, don't know too much about him, but we will when it comes time for our preseason previews. Just coming up in probably a couple months here, Mike. We got to start putting those together. And then defenders, Julio Cascante, Nick Lima, Ben Sweat, household MLS names there. So guys you know you can count on. In the midfield, Austin FC has Joe Corona, newly signed Hector Jimenez, Alex Ring, Ulysses Segura, and Jared Stroud. A couple another household MLS names. And then up top at the forward position, Cecilio Dominguez, John Gallagher, Danny Hosen, and Ronnie Reeds. We'll figure out how to pronounce that before
that
next
roster
season.
Starting to take place. I mean, that's getting filled up there. So, I like it. As from what I'm seeing on that roster, it does look good. So we'll see how Austin FC does, coming in. But it's going to look from the players they've got, looks good.
Right. And, Mike, this is kind of the trend. And disagree with me if you disagree, but you're starting to see these MLS teams, they really like the Atlanta model where you go for it in your first season and you're competing. You don't want to have that slow build a la Minnesota. That's kind of been our two teams, our dichotomy that we always look at it. Atlanta or Minnesota? Which route are you going to go? This year, I think, changed it with Nashville. Nashville really walked that fine line of, we can bring in some great attacking talent, young international players, but we need to have a culture. We need to have leaders in the locker room and on the field, a la Dax McCarty. a la Walker Zimmerman. So you look at Austin FC, they're kind of, again, following that Nashville mold with Nick Lima, Ben Sweat, Alex Ring, Danny Hosen. These are guys who've been around the league who can contribute to on-the-field play and the locker room and culture of an expansion franchise. And then now they just got to go out and sign those big name DPs to really bulk up the offense. And gosh, Austin FC could walk into the playoffs, and I don't think it would surprise anybody. Do you agree with that assessment? It's kind of the trend of building an expansion team, and do you agree that Austin FC is doing that? You with me there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Christmas carols coming in through the background. That's my note where the kids are ready to go to bed. It's what, 11 o'clock here in the East Coast. Yes, I agree with that assessment, Nick. And with that, we're getting ready for Christmas here in Florida, and the Sons of a Pitch. It's Christmas time. Merry Christmas to all of our viewers, our listeners, everybody out there. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. We'll be live tomorrow night for Tigres against LAFC.
Well, Mike, let me take it home then. I'll wrap it up tonight. Thank you, kids, for the serenading. It's great to hear the caroling and getting all of our listeners in our show to
Hey, jingle bell, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey!
So thank you, kids. That was a lot of fun. Thank you to our viewers and our listeners, to everyone who is supporting soccer in the U.S., growing the sport conversation. Make sure you join our conversation every week on Twitter at SOPSoccer, on Facebook at Sons of the Pitch Soccer, and on YouTube at Sons of the Pitch Soccer. If you like what we do and want to throw us a couple bucks, we appreciate the support. That way we can get Mike's parents some new internet. That way he's good anytime he's down there visiting. Donate using the Cash App, referral code FRQWGRS. Get yourself a free $10 on your account. We're also on Patreon, and you can find our swag on Redbubble. Not too late to get some late Christmas gifts with SOP logos on it. And, you know, what's more fun to walk around that something that says Sons of the Pitch? You're going to get a few head turns, and you can tell them all about us. So, Mike, have a Merry Christmas. Enjoy the live tomorrow, LAFC versus Tigres. And when LAFC wins, make sure you think of my prediction from weeks ago. Final thoughts, my friend.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Will do. Guys, thanks so much for viewing tonight. Appreciate it. Merry Christmas to everybody. We'll see you guys tomorrow night for LAFC and Tigres CONCACAF Champions League final. Good night. Talk to you guys tomorrow.